Ever wondered what it would take to become a living weapon? Not a superhero, not a villain, but something born from pure rage. Something that can't be killed. This isn't just a story about a guy who got powers. This is a story about a man who lost everything, and in the process, became an unstoppable force of nature. His name is Wolverine, and his life is a waking nightmare. He witnessed his father's murder, and in that moment, something inside him snapped. He didn't just get mad, he evolved. 6 razor-sharp claws shot out from his hands, and in a fit of rage, he lunged at the killer. But the words that came from the murderer's mouth, that's what truly broke him. The killer revealed a shocking truth. He was Nanhai's real father. And from that day forward, Nanhai was destined to become the toughest man on the planet. That's right, he's the one and only Wolverine. Not only does he have those iconic adamantium claws, but he also possesses an unparalleled self-healing ability. He can face a nuclear explosion and walk away without a scratch. His body, his martial arts, everything heals in the blink of an eye. But for all his strength, his life is full of sorrow. Because in that moment of rage, he accidentally killed his own father. Because of this, he began a life of wandering with his brother, who also has mutant genes. They spent years relying on each other, fighting in countless wars, from World War I to World War II, and even the Vietnam War. Through the constant gunfire, the two of them bravely fought the enemy and resolved crisis after crisis. As time went on, they somehow kept their young faces. But his brother, Victor, was in a bad place. He was obsessed with killing, even stabbing his hand through a woman's body. When officers tried to stop him, he brutally killed them too, which caused a huge fire. At that point, the two were arrested and sentenced to be executed. But because of his super self-healing ability, the soldiers shot him for 2 hours and still couldn't hurt him. They had no choice but to lock them up and keep them under strict watch. One day, a superior named Mr. Stryker found him and invited the two to join a special forces team of mutants. Soon, they started their first secret mission. Each teammate on the red team had a unique superpower. The first to appear was... Then they took the elevator to the top floor. When the door opened, the most insane one-man show began. He wielded his 2 swords like a wild monkey. The whole scene was a total slaughter. Soon, all the gunmen were eliminated, and the object of their mission was a meteorite. Under the constant pressure of General Stryker, the black market boss had no choice but to explain where the meteorite came from. Unknowingly, this meteorite would also create the strongest Wolverine. Soon, they came to a village based on the clues. After learning the exact location of the meteorite, they started to massacre the whole village. The righteous Wolverine rushed to stop them, because joining the team was never meant for this. After stopping his brother, Wolverine took off his dog tags. From that moment on, he was done with the team. The two brothers went their separate ways. 6 years later, Wolverine had a happy family and a simple life with his wife as a lumberjack. It seemed like his life had returned to normal, but it hadn't. One day, his wife, who went out alone, was stopped by his brother Victor. He walked toward her like a beast and left to stop them, because joining the team was never meant for this. After stopping his brother, Wolverine took off his dog tags. From that moment on, he was done with the team. The two brothers went their separate ways. 6 years later, Wolverine had a happy family and a simple life with his wife as a lumberjack. It seemed like his life had returned to normal, but it hadn't. One day, his wife, who went out alone, was stopped by his brother Victor. He walked toward her like a beast and left a deep scratch on the car's hood. When Wolverine saw the scratch on a nearby tree, he immediately knew something was wrong. He ran down the mountain like a madman, but it was too late. His wife was already dead in a pool of blood. Wolverine was in agony, and his hatred for Victor was overwhelming. He broke into Victor's hideout and demanded to know why he did it. But Victor said, "Women will only empty your body and soul." An enraged Wolverine was furious and tried to kill him. But now, Victor was a wild beast, and even his own brother was helpless against him. In comparison, 6 years of peaceful life had made Wolverine's body soft. In just a few rounds, he was defeated and killed. Victor even chopped off his hand. And now, to get revenge for his wife, he would have to endure the cruelest physical punishment. It turned out that Stryker had engineered all this. He had extracted a strong get revenge for his wife. He would have to endure the cruelest physical punishment. It turned out that Stryker had engineered all this. He had extracted a strong metal alloy and was going to inject it into Wolverine's body. Dozens of steel needles pierced his skin, and the excruciating pain spread through his entire body, so intense that even the toughest man in history couldn't bear it. But with the injection complete, the strongest Wolverine in history was about to be born. The Holy Gunman's sword started firing wildly at him, but it was useless. The successful experiment gave Wolverine a fearless, invincible new body. He was a force of destruction. Finally, after a desperate fight, Wolverine managed to kill one of the guards. He used his strength to pull out a thick steel plate and then used a waterfall to escape the place. After that, Wolverine found his former teammate, Whitehair. He used to have a good relationship with Victor, so maybe he knew where he was. But now, Whitehair had gained a lot of weight and couldn't stand it when anyone called him fat. Wolverine didn't realize this and made the mistake of calling him fat. Whitehair was instantly enraged. Wolverine still didn't know how serious the situation was. Then Whitehair launched himself like a human cannonball, knocking Wolverine all the way to the top of a tree. It seemed the only way to get answers was to fight him. But Wolverine's fists were like tickles. Whitehair knocked him to the ground with one punch. He then grabbed him and hit him again. But what surprised him was that after Wolverine's transformation, he was a solid block of steel. At that moment, Whitehair saw stars. Wolverine used the opportunity to try and kill him. He jumped and went for a fatal blow, but then he stopped playing around and extended his steel claws to threaten him. In the end, Whitehair explained that ever since Whitehair saw stars, Wolverine used the opportunity to try and kill him. He jumped and went for a fatal blow, but then he stopped playing around and extended his steel claws to threaten him. In the end, Whitehair explained that ever since Wolverine left, the team wasn't just killing and robbing anymore. They were now catching mutants. They locked them on a hidden island and harvested their superpowers to create one ultimate mutant. And the person in charge of this experiment was Victor. Wolverine, having the information he needed, went to a tavern and found a man named Master Quinellon. He was the only one who had escaped the lab, and Wolverine wanted to know the location from him. But Quinellon saw that Wolverine had a scar on his body like Victor and thought he wasn't a good person. Before Wolverine could explain, Quinellon's power blast sent him flying outside. After falling, Wolverine just happened to see Victor, the person he'd been looking for all this time. And Victor had just killed his friend. So an angry Wolverine extended his steel claws and got ready to fight. Victor rushed at him, but was knocked over by Wolverine. Before Victor could take his last breath, Wolverine pierced his hand directly, then plunged another claw into his chest. However, just as Wolverine was about to kill him, Master Quinellon suddenly jumped out of the sky with a golden mushroom stick. He slammed the stick into the ground, and used this chance to run. But when Wolverine tried to chase him, he was stopped by Master Quinellon. Wolverine had no choice but to attack him. He cut off the golden mushroom stick directly and then kicked it away. Master Quinellon wouldn't have it. He turned the stick into a climbing pole and climbed up, then leaped onto Wolverine's steel claws. Wolverine cut off his own claws. Then he unleashed his great wolf move, the Infinite Talisman. Quinellon wanted to use a big move to fly away, but he was helplessly knocked out by Wolverine. Finally, Quinellon was defeated. Wolverine pushed him against a wall and explained that he wasn't with Victor. Quinellon then took Wolverine to the island. But Master Striker wasn't worried at all, because he had already perfected a transformation even more awesome than Wolverine's. However, this time, Wolverine turned around and saw his dead wife alive again. It turned out that this was all a conspiracy by Master Striker. He had Victor approach Wolverine's wife on purpose, waited for them to fall in love, and then staged a fake death to give Wolverine a sense of revenge. Then Master Striker arranged for Wolverine to have his body enhanced to turn him into a soulless killing machine. When he learned the truth, Wolverine was crushed. So he walked away without looking back. But Wolverine didn't know that his wife was also in danger. Her sister had been kidnapped by Master Striker and was used as a threat. His wife had to do what she was told, but she was no longer of any use to Striker, so he ordered Victor to kill her. However, the scream was heard by Wolverine, who was not far away. Even though his wife had deceived him, they used to love each other. So he fought with Victor. But it was clear that the older brother was no longer a match for the younger one. Wolverine wanted to kill him in one fell swoop, but after thinking it over, he realized that his wife had only lied to him and had not caused any real harm. Wolverine then took his wife to her sister and all the other mutants who were being held there. But just as they were about to leave, the ultimate mutant, Death, appeared. He had multiple superpowers combined. Wolverine immediately told them to go and stayed behind to deal with the super mutant. And they didn't say much and just started fighting. Oh, I forgot, Death can't talk. In the fight, Wolverine found a chance and grabbed him around the waist, but he discovered that Death also had an incredible healing ability. However, he didn't wait for Wolverine to fight back. He was blown away by Death's super powerful kick. Wolverine took the opportunity to climb the chimney. But just when he thought he was going to get rid of Death, he didn't expect him to appear right in front of him. At this moment, it was getting tough. Unfortunately, Wolverine had to face him. But Death's blade was unbreakable. What's more, it had now absorbed multiple mutant superpowers. Wolverine was getting beat with every move. Then he was stabbed twice. However, just as Death was about to kill him, his brother Victor appeared in time and hit Wolverine, who was about to fall. The two brothers were now a team again, just like when they were kids. But even so, Death kept beating them without hesitation. They kept fighting until the 800th round. Fortunately, Victor predicted the future. Wolverine gave him a shove from behind, but Death appeared on the opposite side in a flash. Then he opened the door and fired a machine gun that was unbelievably powerful. Fortunately, Wolverine's Edward helped hold the machine gun. Victor took the opportunity to try and give him a fatal blow, but Death reacted instantly. He then went to Victor's side and gave him a brutal beatdown. At this critical moment, Wolverine went for a killing blow. Then, as Wolverine was about to leave with the injured Kyle, Stryker shot him in the back. This made Wolverine furious. He wouldn't let this man ruin the happiness in front of him. So he wanted to kill this bad guy. But he was shot in the head. And this gun was made of Edward's metal, and it was linked to Wolverine. Unsure, Stryker came to his side and shot him in the back. Then he came to Kyle's side and was ready to end this love. But he forgot that Kyle could control people's minds. However, when Kyle was about to kill him, he felt a sense of peace. So he let him go all the way west until he got the real gold. Not long after, Wolverine woke up. But he had lost his memory. Even though the person in front of him was very familiar, he still couldn't remember who they were. So Wolverine had to close his eyes and run away alone.